What got you interested in this kind of business?
To be honest, my cousin, Don Little, used to race. And my dad started racing when Don did. And I lived with my grandparents. And Don would pick me up on the way to the Roll Bowl, let me ride up in his car, in his race car, you know. And that's how I got started. I always wanted to be a wrestler or a race car driver. Started out in the demolitions. And from there I moved up. I went to the service and come back and end up in the hooligans. I was winning my first race up here, and that stupid number 3 went right by me. You remember him?
Tim Johnson.
Timmy Johnson.
So he stole your first victory, huh?
Yeah, he did. And I ended up winless. In the feature, I won a lot of heats, no feature. We also had a half-mile track right next to my house, which is where I had my first car wreck. We had a 58 Ford, and it was race day, and I went out, and my dad was gone. And I looked, and he's down there driving around the racetrack. So I jumped in our Studebaker truck and went down back, and I went flying right by my dad. And he motioned for me to go home. So I come up over the bank, and I turned around and looked to see if he was following me. And I ran right in the side of a guy's car. I took the whole side off a brand new car. I think I was in 3rd or 4th grade when I went to my first race. Everybody knew Squirt Johns, you know. And I remember the old Skyline Speedway. And I remember one night 4 or 5 cars burn up right in the front straightaway because they didn't have any way to get the fire out.
My gosh.
I'll never forget that. It just happened. To be honest with you, it happened like overnight. Jerry Frank put an ad in the program book that they wanted to sell Erie. Said, we'll sell you Erie for X number of dollars. And I said, I won't pay that for Erie, but I'd pay that for Stateline. They said, you would? And I said, yes, I would. And they said, it's yours. Just like that. The funny thing about being an owner is all of a sudden the guys that were your heroes all these years, like the Skip Furloughs and so on, all of a sudden you're their boss. You know, it's hard to accept that. I am always open. Not necessarily will I change my mind, but I will always talk to somebody about their feelings versus my feelings and tell them why I think this will work or why I don't think it will work, you know. And there's a lot of good people in this racing. I've learned if something happens on the track, you don't necessarily have to reprimand the guy right then. You're better off to wait, talk to him during the week or the next week, you know. Most of them will apologize to you, but don't put them in a position where they've got to make up their mind about one thing or another, you know, because it always ends up bad.
Was there an accident over that 25 years that when it happened, it scared you half to death?
Oh, my God, yes, in a demolition car. A kid got hit right in front of the flag stand, right in front of me. And another guy hit him, and when it did, it ruptured his gas tank. And he went to start his car, and everything just went up and fire. And they had to life flight him to Erie. And that just scared me to death.
He was the best driver during that snapshot. 25 years.
There's several, but Dick Barton's got to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's been here. Him and I used to race together when I started. And year after year, Dick Barton, Rod Malloy, you know, longevity enters into this as, you know, and Dick has stayed good for so many years. I was first one up here ever to have 9 NASCAR drivers race.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I met guys like Neil Bonnet, Earnhardt, all these guys. I was closer than me to you.
Mm-hmm.
From them. I mean, it's just something they can't take away from me. And I enjoyed it, you know, and I don't necessarily do what everybody else does. You know, I go out and I make my own decisions. And that's how I've always been, and it's got me this far, you know. I remember sitting beside Harry Gant, he kept spinning out on a time trial. And he kept saying, let me try one more time. I know I can get this. You know, and I remember him saying he made more money on that chicken movie he did than he ever did in racing, you know.
That's right.
I brought in a Playboy centerfold once. It almost got me divorced.
Really?
Yes, really. I went and picked her up at the airport. You know, somebody had to do that.
It's a dirty job, and Fran
Yeah.
did it. Now we're getting to
And then when the races were over, somebody had to take her back to her room, and we had to go down to Gilligan's Island and have some pizza. And it's one of the few mistakes I ever made in my life. So the next day when I had to take her back to the airport, my whole family took her back. But that's one of them memories that I remember, you know.
What's the question that you expected that we haven't given you yet?
How nice a guy I am. No, I'm just bullshitting you.
BS, before seeing.
You're supposed to ask me what I get out of all this.
Let's do that.
I really don't know. I don't know. I've never been, you know. I tried to stay out. I've never, maybe one time have I ever had my picture taken with a race car driver.
Mm-hmm.
Memories.
The Fran Seamens legacy of this 25 years. What have you done that people will remember as you harken back?
Well, Ronnie Blackmer said it once. It's either BS before Seamens or after Seamens, is how he told me when he still raced. And he said it's BS, you know, and I don't know. I just want to keep it going as long as we can, you know. Oh, there's so much happened I couldn't even tell you. You know, most of the stories you hear about me are true. That's the bad thing, you know.
That's a good ending right there.
That's the truth.
That's gonna make the final cut.
Does it exist?
1, 2, and 3.